Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Lord. The Hawks play the Heat in the play-in tonight, but that is not the big storyline surrounding the team, which is unfortunate, but this is the NBA. It's a drama show. What happens on the floor is secondary half the time to what is going on behind the scenes. And the latest rumor comes from Kevin O'Connor, and this has been floated, that the Hawks will evaluate all their options, including trading star point guard Trae Young. And Trae Young responded to those in an article via The Athletic. Who was it by? Do you know who was it by? Regardless, he basically said maybe true, maybe
Joe Varden.
yeah. He basically said maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I think as you dig a little deeper in the article, Alex, and you can confirm this, I don't think it's nearly as bad. I don't think it's bad. I think he's just saying it's something that I'm not worried about. I'm worried about this playoff game. Nobody's told me I'm going to get traded or hinted at anything like that. But they also haven't told me that they haven't or they aren't going to. So I pretty much think the Hawks are going to do their due diligence this offseason. I've said this for a while now. I think it would be stupid not to evaluate the market for Trae Young. Like, listen, if you can go out there and get a Donovan Mitchell package for him, and you don't think you're going to compete with the current roster, which is kind of how it looks right now because it's hard to upgrade and the team's average, you got to at least see what you can get for him. Now, if everyone's going to lowball you and not give you a good deal, it'd be stupid to trade him. But if you can get a monster trade package, you got to evaluate and see what's out there. So I think the Hawks, I don't take anything bad from what Trae said. And I think the Hawks would be stupid not to do their due diligence and see what they could get for him because they're in a bad spot right now.
Yeah, I agree, but it's weird that you bring in Quinn Snyder, who's definitely a win now coach. And what kind of messages are we really sending here? They keep feeling like they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They just gave Bogey a massive extension. They're just a weirdly constructed team. I still stand by whatever I said that the Hawks may have peaked a little too early, but that happens all the time in sports. We'll see if anything comes of this, but I agree with you, Chase. I think you should really kick the can at least, maybe not publicly. We're seeing how that Donovan Mitchell trade's working out for Utah. They got Walker Kessler, who was one of the best rookies in the NBA last year. They absolutely robbed the Timberwolves. And now they have about, 11, 12 first-round picks, a good young roster. They could have made the playoffs if they had shipped off a couple pieces. And they have, they got a good piece back in Lauri Markkanen, she was part of the Gobert trade. But, we've seen that these rebuilds can be fruitful.
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, what should ease all Hawks fans if you don't want Trae Young to leave is Quinn Snyder didn't come here to rebuild this team. He saw the top-end talent and said, I can figure it out. He left the Jazz when they were on the downturn, still with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, or he was fired. But, he didn't come here to, rebuild the Atlanta Hawks. I don't care how long-term that 5-year contract is. He sees the top-end talent of Trae Young, DeJounte Murray. At least it's just Trae Young. I won't even include DeJounte Murray. He sees the superstar and he says, I can work with that. He's got, all the talent in the world. He might be a little immature and says the wrong things from here time to time. But I'm his age. I don't say the right things every single day, especially I don't have 50 microphones jammed in my face and a whole city on my back. So yes, we expect a lot out of him. But the weight of the world is on his shoulders. The weight of Atlanta is on his shoulders. I think that Quinn Snyder can get the most out of him. But with all that being said, this is a business. And if you're not listening to everything, what if they double what Donovan Mitchell, the trade for Donovan Mitchell? Like, you're not going to say no to that. You're going to be like, okay, I guess, we'll have to figure it out and trade that for, whichever, do whatever. I just think you'd be fools not to listen. That's just bad business. And to be honest, this team hasn't done much to inspire confidence. I'm just hopeful that Quinn Snyder goes in there and rules with an iron fist. He has personnel, decision-making power. So, they're not going to trade Trae Young without Quinn Snyder's A-OK. That should reassure Hawks fan. He's a Trae guy. I think they gave Bogey that contract because Quinn Snyder was like, hey, Bogey's my guy. He's got decision-making power. They had to ask him. So all this is just crap, especially right before the play-in, man. That sucks because we're not trying to lose. Like, who cares about draft picks anymore? Let's build some momentum heading into next season with a new coach. We're going to do some personnel on coaches and on the roster. Let's build some momentum and put this trade stuff behind us.
Yeah, to me, listen, I'll ease Hawks fans at least right now, I would be shocked if Trae Young was traded during the offseason. I don't think Quinn Snyder came here to rebuild. I do think he has say over personnel decisions. Every report has suggested that. Now, I don't necessarily trust ownership, but I think ownership might have finally realized that they're not the smartest people in the room and might let the smartest people in the room make the decisions. And if that's the case, I'm very confident Trae will be on this team. That doesn't mean they won't kick the tires on anything. Like I said, that's just due diligence. That's what you should be doing. I don't care if the Hawks went 48-34 this year and lost in the second round. They should still be thinking about how can we make this roster better. And if Trae Young put up 30 and 10, you don't think you can win a championship with them, but you do think you can win with something you trade with or rebuild the roster in such a way, then maybe you do it. Now, so I think you do that in any situation. That's just the right way to run organizations. The only way I see this ending badly with Trae Young getting traded this offseason would be if, and this is a scenario I do think is plausible, they start peeping around and the rumors start coming out because nothing stays silent in this league. If they start saying, like, trying to trade Trae Young or kicking the tires and stuff, and everything comes out, and Trae, who we don't know, he's kind of a volatile human being, might take some offense to that. And then now he wants out and he refuses to play and stuff like that because NBA superstars do hold a lot of power in this league. So that's a situation that I think the Hawks are really going to have to navigate, quietly and smoothly and be open in communication. Hey, listen, Trae, we love you. But listen, we're not where we're at right now. We're evaluating everything. So I think if the line of communication between all parties is good, we won't have problems. But it's if you start hiding things and getting close to deals and these reports come out, whether they're true or not, that's where problems can arise.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is going to hinge on what happens tonight because if the Hawks lose tonight and then they lose to the Raptors, the Bulls, and they don't make the playoffs, I think this becomes a situation where you take a longer look at this type of thing. But as we speak right now, that game hasn't happened yet. The Hawks still have a chance to play against the 2 seed, be a 7 seed, which is a step up from last year. But this is, it just all goes back to the roster around him. I think you're still better served trying to retool the roster. I don't know how plausible that's going to be. I love Bogey. He's honestly one of my favorite players. I'm not in love with the extension they gave him. Clint Capella's making big money. John Collins, honestly, might have one of the worst contracts in the entire NBA.
It's so bad.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to add quality pieces without money.
I don't remember which one of you said it, but Trae Young is not the problem here, guys. I mean, the roster sucks. Everybody is playing below their paycheck except for Trae Young. Even DeJounte Murray's kind of fallen off. Defense hasn't been great. He's been shoddy on the spots. So let's pump the brakes, guys. I mean, I know Trae Young's making the most money. He's the best player. That's where the buck stops. It always has been like that, but the roster is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. They're not giving Trae any help. So,
and you look at Trae, there's four players in NBA history to have 10 or more games with 40-plus points and 10-plus assists in their first 5 seasons. It's Oscar, it's Tiny, it's Luka, and it's Trae. There's only 4 guys. And he's, that's probably 3 Hall of Famers. Luka will probably be there one day.
He's generational.
Really gotta say
that's all what it is. He's generational.
But Trae Young, you will never hear me say a bad thing about Trae Young, really. I mean, yeah, I'll say some things. Maybe his attitude could be a little bit better. But as you said, he's young, and this is nothing new. It's not ridiculous. He's not terrible. I think he gets a bad rap. I think Chandler Parsons came out and said it, and he was a veteran on this roster. He's like, Trae gets a bad rap. All he wants to do is win and play basketball. And I think that's really who he is. I remember being like, this guy's got the killer 2 years ago or whatever when we were in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, the guy had the killer instinct. He loves basketball. He loves the big moment. I love Trae Young. He is not the problem. I can firmly say that. So if the Hawks go out there and take a low ball offer for Trae Young, which I would be shocked if they do, I would be this close to just being absolutely done with the franchise as a whole. I don't know how
I'll take it a step
I would
further.
Stop supporting them. I would stop supporting them.
Yeah, they're already hard to watch. But if they take a low ball offer on Trae Young and try to put this on his shoulders as if it's his fault, that's just so wrong and so incorrect. The rest of this roster sucks. I mean, it's terrible. John Collins is a bench player making $25 million. Clint Capella, he's a solid piece, but he can't do much other than catch lobs from who? Trae Young. DeJounte Murray hasn't worked out. There's so many other problems with this roster that if you just move on to Trae Young for nothing, who in all accounts to me is a generational player, I can't tolerate it. As a fan, as a basketball, as anything, it's not tolerable.
Yeah, and we had that article from Bleacher Report where the guy was saying, it was like a contract swap for Duncan Robinson. And I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Oh
Like, do
shit!
you not understand what star players fetch in this league?
People
This is
do
like that. You just not
people
think before you speak. That's what I really wanted to say.
people do realize Duncan Robinson's contract is so bad. He's making like 20 mil a year for the next 2 or 3 seasons that it would take 2 first-round picks for someone just to take on that contract.
Not,
Then
much
we're
less
taking
given
on
Trae
Kyle.
Young.
Then we're taking on Kyle Lowry's contract, another awful contract that will take at least 1 first-round pick for any crappy team to take. Like this happens all the time. Salary dumps. You attach first-round picks. You trade a crap like you match salaries, whatever. These happen all the time. And then we just give them Trae Young for free. Like what? What are we? What are we doing here?
Duncan Robinson has only
happened?
played in half of the games this year, and he's shooting 32% from three.
They would have to
You
give
think
more
that's who
than
they're going to
two
go
first-round picks.
I
More than
think
two
that
first-round picks.
They
for Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry.
deleted the rest of the trade because there's surely 2 people had to sign off on that. The guy who wrote it and then the editor. 2 people. I think something must have got mixed up because there's no way somebody in their right mind who wrote 1,000 words about 4 different trades said that. That is just laughable. It's sinful.
The narrative outside of Atlanta about Trae Young is so incorrect. Like we all realize Trae Young's not the problem, but people just think, oh, this is an average team. It must be Trae Young. Like he can't win. He can't do this. No, man. The rest of the roster absolutely sucks, and there's a ton of terrible contracts, and there's just not a lot of help there. There's not a lot of depth. There's not a lot of help. They are an average team because that is the way the roster is constructed, even with a superstar and Trae Young. And also, why does none of this stuff happen to Luka Doncic? Like
he's been getting it. He's been getting it this past week about, he's been getting, I will say,
but you would never see a hypothetical trade that was Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, and 2 first rounds for Luka Doncic. I mean, and listen, I don't think like Luka might be better than Trae. I don't think the gap is as big as people make. And I think we've seen that in recent years. They've pretty much been
the same player.
Identical careers. They put up very similar stat lines. They've both been to a conference finals. They both had good moments where they performed on the big stage, and they both kind of underachieved. And they both kind of underachieved with roster qualities that are not up to par. Like they're very similar. Like it's just it's mind blowing. But it's a narrative that's outside of Atlanta because anybody who watches this team on a daily basis can see it's not Trae Young's fault. He is a very, 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 very good player, and he's not going to be given away for pennies. I don't care what the hell Bob from Bleacher Report writes. I don't care what the hell any of these hypothetical trades. Like if you think you're getting the guy for a couple salary dumps and a couple late first-round picks, you're out of your damn mind.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.